Well, good Friday morning, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, and everybody watching online on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Live. This is the Early Bird Special. I am Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. Sparky, good morning.
Good morning.
Let them know what they're in for.
We'll recap last night's football game. We'll get into all sorts of things. We'll have our boy Chris Flail coming in at 8 o'clock, as well as the voice of the Las Vegas Raiders, Jason Horowitz, joining us at 8:30 ahead of their home game against the Bears. And we'll get into all sorts of stuff. If you're a collector, I've got a couple of stories I want to bounce off you before we get out of here.
I think I know two of the stories in which you're going to bring up because I have the exact same ones, and one of them has to do with our favorite WWE heel.
Yeah. And my favorite basketball team.
Yes, which honestly, I don't blame him whatsoever, but we'll get to that at some point in the second hour of the show or towards the end of this one.
What'd you think about the game last night?
Honestly, it was a lot better of a game than I was expecting, especially at the end. The Arizona Cardinals unfortunately falling to the Seattle Seahawks 23-20 after a brilliant final drive from the Seattle Seahawks after one of the biggest blunders we have seen on special teams in years. For those of you who don't know what happened last night or are not aware of how the rules are now with kickoff, with this new kickoff change and the structure that is made, the kickers now are required to kick it past the 20-yard line or within that 10-yard gap, obviously, for an onside kick, in which you have to announce now that you're doing an onside kick. There's no surprise ones anymore. But if your kicker does not do that, as we saw last night in Arizona, one of the biggest blunders I've seen in a while. I know why he was doing it. Obviously, you're trying to short hop it, force him to run it out, and make your guys make a play. But, dude, at this point, you were a professional kicker. Boot that thing out of there. Get it in the end zone. Give him a touchback. That would have been... Anyways, the Arizona kicker kicks it short, probably by about, what would you say, a yard or two?
Yeah.
It was right there, but it was just short.
No landing zone or whatever the hell they call it.
Calling for the flag and moving this ball from what probably would have been starting at the 25 on the opposite side to the 40. I said at that point, because, I mean, how much time was left on the clock? Maybe 30 seconds? Maybe. And I immediately said, well, now all they need is one big throw, and they're right there at field goal range. Arizona just lost the game. And what happened? Sam Darnold dropped back, found his favorite guys, Jackson Smith and Jigba, who was having an awful game up until the fourth quarter. He caught the final catch of the game, which put him at 79 yards, put them in perfect field goal range, set up Myers for the game-winning field goal, in which he botched minutes before from the same distance. And honestly, I was going out there. I was watching this game on a stream, and obviously that stream was behind a little bit. And I took it as, well, they're still setting up for the kick, and I haven't got anything from ESPN, which means to me, maybe he missed again. And I'm going to be talking about how kickers are not being accurate again, even though we gave them the K balls and all this other different stuff to help them. But Myers gets it done. The Seattle Seahawks look brilliant at the end of the game. Everybody is praising Sam Darnold, as they probably should, because he looked fantastic. I mean, 18 for 26, 242 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions, no turnovers. And to be honest with you, game manager.
That's what I was going to say. He seems like just a game manager.
Yeah.
And I mean, that first half was just a snore fest to me. But if it wasn't for that second half of that game and Arizona finally starting to pick up some steam, I was like, man, this game is ugly.
Well, and they kept saying it during the broadcast, and it makes a lot of sense. They brought in Kubiak as the new offensive coordinator to actually coach Geno. They were expecting Geno to stay. But obviously, Geno decided, going to the Raiders, going to go play with Pete again. And we have what we have now in Sam Darnold. Personally, you may have found yourself an upgrade without even meaning to. And on top of that, they're doing what I stressed so much before the season started they need to find out, which is they found a run game. Kenneth Walker finally is
Looks
getting
good.
the touches that we were hoping he'd get 2-3 years ago when he first took over the spot. I'm sorry, no, it was probably 2 years ago. I apologize.
He's smooth, man.
He looks great. The running game looks fantastic. It's the entire offense is moving at a pretty solid pace for Seattle. You're now 3-1, right underneath the San Francisco 49ers, who, again, injury riddled, and the levee's going to break for them eventually. They got to lose their first game. So if you're Seattle, I think you're sitting pretty. I think you're actually going to compete probably for this NFC West as long as the Rams don't find a second gear. Because to be honest with you, if the Rams can find a second gear, I
Oh,
don't think
they're in
there's
trouble.
anybody in the West that can keep up with them. I really don't. But I like what I saw from Seattle. I really did. I was pleasantly surprised, and also was pleasantly surprised what I saw from Arizona in the fourth quarter of this game when they finally got that going. But the biggest talking point for Arizona is the same thing everybody's been talking about for the last 2 weeks. That's Marvin Harrison Jr. because of all the drops he's had the last couple weeks. Everybody that was commentating this game yesterday wanted to give him his flowers and say, oh, he finally broke out of it because of the touchdown catch, which was a beautiful catch, by the
Yeah,
way.
it was.
It was a fantastic catch. Although he kind of got away with a little bit of a push off twice,
A couple times, yeah.
but there were amazing catches made by both of these Arizona receivers. Do you think it was enough, though, to really say Marvin's kind of shaken this bad start of the season?
I would say so. I mean, I wasn't too bad on him after the drops because that'll get into you. But
Mhm.
I mean, it was nice to see him. He does get away with a lot of push offs. But my only concern with really is Arizona is Kyler.
Mm.
I don't understand Kyler's gameplay sometimes, and he almost reminds me like with the third and longs, he checks down or he just takes off,
Mhm.
and I'm like, man, like it almost. I feel like he's almost scared to make that throw because of the turnover because he has in the past have had turnover issues,
Mhm.
and I almost think that he's almost too scared to make that deep throw. But that was the only thing I got out of Arizona. I like Harrison personally, but I think they need the Kyler of old that was a gunslinger and it took him till the end of the game pretty much to actually okay, I'm getting more comfortable.
Yeah.
I think they had opportunities to take over this game early in the or earlier in the game, and he would just run out of bounds on 3rd and 15, and I would see two wide receivers wide open,
Mhm.
and I'm like, what is he doing? It reminded me of Tua when we get 3rd and long and he just checks down or he checks out of the play.
Right. And honestly, I saw a lot of that as well. And I think that was a good portion of the struggle for them in the first half, at least. But the one thing that I didn't see that I was expecting to, especially with them losing their number one running back, was he didn't run as much as I was expecting. And to be honest with you, there were a lot of plays, especially in that first half, where you were trying to extend drives where I was like, dude, take it yourself. You're faster than everyone on this defense. Just get out of bounds before they touch you. I just, when you really look at the stats too, Arizona only carried the ball 17 times. To give you a little bit of context, Kenneth Walker, the guy we talked about for Seattle, had 2 more carries than the entire Arizona team put together and had more yards. It doesn't make sense. That's not winning football. And honestly, I know Drew Brees is going on first look and I'm just saying, or sorry, first take and saying, running football isn't fun football to watch. Okay, you've got to look at who's talking and who's saying
Right.
that. We're talking about Drew Brees, the guy who went to New Orleans with Sean Payton, revolutionized the pass game, and literally didn't do anything except pass the ball. So obviously he's going to say that. But personally, and what I've seen and experienced, and from what everybody I've ever talked to, coaching wise, playing wise, that's ever played football, you want to win football games, run the ball. Beat them on the ground. That's how you win football games. I promise you.
That's
Yeah,
what I was always taught, to run the ball and open up the passing game.
exactly. And that's what they couldn't do last night.
And I
Kyler
will say
couldn't find
Benson
an
looked
area.
good. There was plays that I was like, all right, Benson. I mean, obviously it's big shoes to fill when
Right.
James Conner goes out,
But I
but
just
I
don't
liked what I saw
I
out
don't
of
think he
Benson.
got enough touches
Exactly. They
though.
just didn't
8
feed him.
carries, 35 yards, and that last carry was probably the longest one he had on the day, which was around 7 or 8 yards. But I agree with you. I was like, okay, I know you're playing from behind the vast majority of this game, but you could still establish the run in the first half and get this guy up to at least 12 touches. I mean, I just felt like you didn't utilize the run game enough, which allowed Seattle obviously just to sit there and come right at Kyler the entire game, make him uncomfortable. Luckily, Kyler made plays at the end of this game to get you guys back into it. But much like we've said a lot of the time, little mistakes, little mistakes are what kill you in these close games. I know New England, we've talked about that a lot with them. Every single game for them has come down to one score. If they just had that kick go 2-3 yards further, that game probably would have went to overtime, and we most likely would have saw Arizona winning. Momentum was 100% on their side. They're at home. Those jerseys look sweet, by the way.
I was wondering
Those
was there
jerseys
like
look
the
sweet.
spots on them?
They're supposed to be sand.
Okay.
So it's supposed to simulate sand. And
The
that's honestly
desert.
why I liked it a little bit. I was like, okay, it's not just the white out. You got a little bit of color change in there. Plus the white helmet made it look really
I
cool.
like the
And the
helmets.
the logo in the center changing the cardinal to white instead of red was a nice touch as well. So I was like, okay, I can dig it. This looked a lot better than I expected it to look.
I know that was one of the key rivalry jerseys you were kind
Yes.
of questioning about.
Well, that's the only one that I really looked at and said, jury's still out for me because I can't
I had to
tell. But
double look at
looking
them.
at
I was
it,
like, what are these spots all over
oh
them?
no, looking at it in a live game, that was awesome. Those were sweet.
I
I'm not gonna
personally
lie.
like those helmets.
I do too. And honestly, I'm very excited to see what every other team's going to get going forward because this is just the first of 4 years.
I know the Dolphins are wearing them on Monday night against the Jets.
Ooh, are the Jets wearing theirs as
I'm
well,
not sure. I
or
think it's a home.
is it a home only
Yeah,
thing?
I think it's a
Okay.
home game type
That
thing.
makes sense because I know Buffalo's was a whiteout thing, so I was like, okay, maybe they're gonna have home and away because I know that's what Color Rush used to be. You both got to wear them, but I did kind of question it yesterday. I was like, well, if Arizona's wearing them, why didn't Seattle wear theirs? But again, I maybe it is just a home only thing. They still look sweet. Unfortunately, the sweet uniforms can only take you so far, and you got to hype up your kicker and tell him, kick that dang thing into the dang end zone. What are you doing? But again, I kind of see the strategy he was going for. If you get it short, roll it, make him, bobble it a little bit. I get that, but that game came down to a kickoff kick, which again, I want to highlight this and get your thoughts on this too. Just highlights how important the kickoff is and can be to football and how game changing these things can be, whether it be a mistake by the kickoff team or a run back by the kick return team, does not matter. Kickoff is necessary. That's just my thought.
It
But
was the second time this year that it's came down to a kick where I was like,
yep.
why didn't you just kick it out of the end zone? Like you're just giving them an extra opportunity. And I think that was one of the key things, besides a couple penalties late in the game, that
Yeah.
really killed him.
Honestly, there were a handful that should have been called too. Like I said, Marvin got away with at least one push off that I was just like, okay, that was pretty blatant. One of the best catches I saw of the night, though, has to go to Michael Wilson. When he tripped up on that fourth down play on the out route, turned his head and barely got his hand on it to pull it in. And then not only did that, but stayed upright, battled out with the corner for the last yard, and still could have ran if he didn't go out of bounds. That was impressive.
It was like Kyler's interception in the first half
Yeah.
that ended up fumbling when he ran into his own guy. I was like, oh, and it looked like he
There
was
were
down personally. I thought he was down, but yeah, there was some. I knew it was going to be a kind of a defensive minded game that, who was ever going to make that big stop.
yeah.
But I'm still going to ride on it, man. Kyler does not look comfortable
No, not at all. And honestly, losing James Conner and losing the run game is not going to
on a
make
short
him
week.
more
I get it.
comfortable at all. And I'm not using that as an excuse why they lost. I'm saying that's going to be the biggest problem for Arizona going forward. You've got to figure out the run game, maybe trade for somebody to come in and be the number one if you don't believe in Benson, because that's honestly kind of what I got from it, is that you and the coaching staff don't fully believe in the running backs you have right now, which is why you didn't rely on them. If you would have been a Benson supporter and would have believed in him, we probably would have saw a run game get going. But because we didn't, your offense struggled, and now you have a longer week to figure that out while everybody else dukes it out on Sunday. Let's take a break real quick, pay some bills. There's a story out in NCAA football that I have to talk about that we haven't been able to yet, and we did talk about it a little bit, or at least the game yesterday with our guy Bolt Brady. But Lane Kiffin taking a shot at LSU, telling everybody to take the over. And I'll explain why if you've been a little lost on this story, but it's pretty dang funny. This is the Early Bird Special right here on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. This is the early bird special right here on 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. ESPN Bakersfield. We also stream video every single day on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find us at the early bird special. All of our past episodes are up there as as some of our interviews and segments and whatnot from the past week and weeks of the show. But there's an interesting story we got to talk about that we haven't been able to highlight at all this week, and it's just made me laugh all week long. One of the biggest college football matchups the weekend would be the LSU Tigers, number 4 in the nation, headed to Vaught Stadium in Mississippi to take on the number 13 Ole Miss and head coach Lane Kiffin. For those of you who follow college sports or at least follow ESPN and all of that, you may have heard of this story of Lane Kiffin telling people to take the over in the bets this week between Ole Miss and LSU. Well, there's a little bit of a underlining story to this. So at first you read the text message thinking, or at least the social media post, and think Lane Kiffin's just full of himself and thinks this offense is going to tear apart the LSU defense. He's figured it out. No. Apparently, this all stems from some mind games that are being played from Lane's own daughter. Lane's daughter, whose name I cannot remember right now, it's escaping me, has officially come out with her most recent relationship. And everybody's wondering, okay, great. Daddy-daughter issues. Who's the boyfriend? Must be some hooligan. Turns out to be Whit Weeks, the star linebacker from LSU. And of course, she makes this entire relationship known to the world on Instagram the week of their game, whether to just, poke fun at dad or do something, stir the pot. Exactly, Spark. What are your thoughts? I mean, I love the Weak boys in LSU. They're fantastic. For those of you who don't know, there's a whole slew of brothers that play linebacker for LSU right now, and all start, if I'm not mistaken, that are all, the Weeks brothers. And honestly, they're fantastic players on and off the field from what I can tell. But this was just one of those moments where you look at it and say, oh, Lord, you may have just made dad a little angry.
Season it. Stir that pot.
But I'm just saying, I mean, you being an LSU fan, are you worried at all that Lane and the Mississippi crew is going to be coming out and ready to slobber knock your heads off?
No, thank you. I'm good. I think LSU is just fine.
You don't think it's going to cause any issues?
I'm sure they will, but I don't think it'll end with the result they're thinking.
No, probably not. I mean, LSU is high powered, and I would love to see Ole Miss pull off a win here and the Rebels stay home because they're not leaving. But LSU walk back home with some sort of loss here. But I love this story. I don't know why. Just the fact that Lane's own daughter is stirring the pot. And maybe it's just me being a USC fan having a little bit of salt still for Lane Kiffin. But it makes me laugh. I sit there and think about it. It's like, God, of all the boys for this girl to be dating, and this isn't something that just happened, by the way. Apparently they've been dating for months. This is just them becoming Instagram official. I still don't get my own generation, but it is what it is. Stirring the pot, though, against dad the week they're about to play. I feel like this could have possibly been a plant from Lane as well.
That's what I was starting to think.
I would not put it past Kiffin and his strategic mind to sit there and say, you know what, honey, I know you've been dating this boy for quite some time, but wait until the week we play them to actually post a picture. Like, I'm not saying that he's going to make or break up with the boy, but I am saying I would not be surprised if he did this to rile up his own team.
Oh, yeah. Just like wrestling, it helps the story.
Absolutely.
It stirs it up.
And I love the story, though. I love, like, this type of drama. It's fantastic. It's family fun, too. It's not like he's actually angry his daughter is dating somebody like the Weeks boys, I'm sure. But it just, sour craw there to announce it on the week you're playing them. And it's probably the biggest game Ole Miss has played yet this year.
Just makes it that much better when LSU whoops them.
Well, we'll see at 12:30 tomorrow. I'm not sure if that one's going to be the one live here on ESPN Bakersfield. We have yet to get a
what I saw from him was the Michigan State and USC, followed with Ohio State and Washington for Saturday, and then we've got 4 games on Sunday, starting with the Vikings Steelers at 6:30, Falcons in Washington.
Ooh.
Bears and Raiders, obviously, at the home of the Las Vegas Raiders, and then wrapping up Sunday with the rival game, Green Bay. Micah's return to Dallas And then Monday night we'll have the Jets Dolphins game.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Did you say USC and Michigan State?
That's what it said on his sheet that he
Because
sent me.
that was last weekend, so he gave you the wrong week. But
Oh,
regardless, we'll get you guys the names of the games later.
We were supposed to have the Colts game on Sunday, but they moved it to the afternoon against the Raiders game. So obviously he had to bump that one and add the Falcons Commanders.
I'll gladly take the Falcons Commanders game. And honestly, the Colts and Rams game should be in the afternoon because that's going to be a hell of a game to watch. One of those teams is going to walk away undefeated, and the other one, the levee's going to break at some point.
And one of the stories that I heard this morning is if the Jaguars can pull out this win, they'll be 3-1.
Yeah.
And all this talk we've talked about, Lawrence not looking like the high-paid Lawrence, but can you imagine if they are 3-1 after this week?
I mean, again, that's the scary part to me because as successful as they've been, I still haven't seen Trevor be that successful. So it's really the rest of the team. It kind of reminds me of the Blake Bortles years when Ramsey and the defense were really leading this team to success, but Bortles was doing just enough for the offense to kind of make it work. I'm not saying Trevor is bad. I have a lot of respect for Trevor Lawrence. To be honest with you, I feel like he should be one of the better quarterbacks in the AFC. He really should. But for some reason, from the games that I've watched, or at least the plays I've been able to see, there have just been some throws and some miscues where I'm just left dumbfounded and scratching my head wondering, God, I thought he would be either over that kind of play by now, or I'm not sure exactly what Duval got him doing down there, which again, I'm not a huge fan of Cohen anyway, but I mean, he's got the Jaguars obviously working pretty well here, 2-1.
And I was looking at the wrong list. We got Oregon and Penn State.
That's what it is. That makes sense. The whiteout game is this weekend. But regardless, I just don't know if we could sit here and say that this success for Jacksonville is going to carry over all season long. If I don't see the Trevor Lawrence that at least I saw last season and at least some progression out of him, it's going to be weird for me, or at least hard for me to say that they're going to be successful the entire season. It's kind of like Houston at this point.
I'm thinking the same thing with the Colts.
Well, again, the levee's got to break for the Colts eventually, but they're still the only team in the NFL that's only punted once.
Yeah.
One time in 3 games.
I still don't think they're going to be a team that goes deep.
No, more than likely
I wouldn't even be surprised if they didn't make the playoffs.
You think that they're going to
I think it's just
flounder out at the end of the year, kind of like the
history
Tigers?
Proves it. I think it's going to happen. It's like you said, the levee breaks. I think it's going to break, and it's going to break hard.
That's entirely possible, but I don't know.
They've got the foundation. They've got what they need, and Daniel Jones is playing good football. I just don't see it happening all season.
Do you think this is kind of like what we saw with Pittsburgh last year when Russ was doing pretty well at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, and I could almost think the same thing with Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I don't think Pittsburgh is the real deal, and I think Minnesota is going to slap them this weekend.
We will see.
I just don't see it.
To be honest with you, the game being in Dublin is the only thing that makes me worry about that, because that could either help or kill both of these teams. And the other story that's come out of that game too that I was unaware of until yesterday, apparently the NFL stopped the Steelers from going out there early to get their players acclimated to jet lag. From what I understand, and this again is all me just parroting from what I heard from ESPN and the McAfee show yesterday, but the past games where they've been able to go overseas, there have been certain teams that have decided to go early.
Jacksonville.
And there are certain teams that decide to go like the day before. And really, it doesn't help you either way. They've lost and won both ways. So there's really no proof that going early or anything helps the team do better. But obviously, being overseas, you want your guys to get some rest and at least get acclimated to the jet lag so you don't play like crap. But the NFL this year, at least for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who had wanted to and planned to go to Ireland early this week, in fact, on Monday, so they would be there all week, NFL said, no, you can't do that. That's odd to me. Why are we changing the rules now?
Well, there was teams that were complaining last year with Jacksonville had back-to-back games out of the country, and they complained that, like, no, if you're going to move a team, maybe.
Right.
And that was another topic they brought up yesterday, but I think a lot of it was backlash that the last 2 years, I believe it was, that Jacksonville was back to back in a different country playing. and they got used to it. I mean, they were there for 2.5 weeks
Mhm.
ahead of, where teams like were flying in Friday before
That
a early Sunday game.
that was weird to me that they literally had 2 back-to-back London games for Jacksonville, and to be honest with you, I think that was them kinda soft
Pushing.
launching Jacksonville into London, telling, Shad Khan, "Hey, this place really loves you. You guys could really be great here." And I think that's exactly what they were doing, is they were trying to convince Jacksonville and the team and all of that maybe this is the new spot for you. But yeah, no, I get that part. If you have 2 games back to back, that's not fair because the team can just stay out there all week, and obviously they're used to it. But this is also the issue that I brought up when we talk about them making overseas teams in the first place. You're going to be dealing with that all year long, all year long. And this also includes the team leaving London and going back to America to go play whomever they're playing. How are you going to have that team acclimated to jet lag every other week? If we have a team out, like say they make the London Expos or whatever, the London Monarchs or whatever you want to call it, that team is going to have the most jet lagged, tired, aged out players because of just how much stress they're going to be under from the constant going from London to Atlanta, London to LA, London to New York, and then everybody coming to them. It doesn't work. It just doesn't. You have to allow these guys to go early. That's why I don't understand why the NFL shut down the Pittsburgh Steelers from going to Dublin early, because it just made sense. Like, why wouldn't they go early? Go get the jet lag out of the way. Go have a week of practice in Ireland so you know, okay, this is the weather we're going to be dealing with down here.
That should be a part of it.
It really
You
should.
should have the full week of practice out there.
And think of the possibilities of meet and greets, all that type of stuff. You can have the players do media down there and actually pump it up and get people to go to the game. I mean, it just makes too much sense. That's why I didn't understand while hearing that story yesterday that the NFL told the Pittsburgh Steelers, you can't do that. That made no sense to me. It's like I would assume the NFL would be expecting them to go. Like, yes,
You think
leave
it'd be better
now.
football.
It's like finish your game on Sunday, pack up and get out. Go. But again, it's the NFL, it's the Shield. They have their ways of doing stuff, and you have to abide by it. Otherwise, you're not playing by their rules, and they'll let you know it. We got to take a break real quick, pay some bills. There are some interesting stories that we got to get to in the world of collecting. Logan Paul against the Chicago Bulls. We'll see how this ends up. This is the Early Bird Special right here on 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. Is this a new one?
No.
God, has it been that long since I've listened to Disturbed that I don't even remember their music? Oh, God.
20th year anniversary of this album, actually.
Wow. Yeah, no,
Sickness.
wow. Yeah, no, I'm way behind. I'm not way behind, but
It's getting old.
yeah, no,
Welcome
absolutely.
to the family.
Absolutely. I apologize. Real quick, speaking of getting old, we got to get you an update on the Ryder Cup. It started at 4:30 this morning. And I'm sorry, I'm not getting up at 4:30 this in the morning, although I saw a lot of content from it and I'm very appreciative of it. But Paris play is currently underway, and unfortunately, America is getting creamed. John Rahm and Hatton currently have a 4-stroke lead over Justin Thomas and DeChambeau through 15. Fitzpatrick and Aberg have a 4-stroke lead over Scheffler and Henley. McIlroy and Fleetwood 5-stroke lead through 13 over English and Morikawa, and the only American team right now with a lead, Cantlay and Schauffele with a 2-stroke lead over McIntyre or over Hovland. And at this point, it's just a slow start, I believe. We will see what we will see. Hopefully, these matchups will be done by the end of the show. We'll be able to get you a final on those as the first round of the Ryder Cup gets underway. We'll give you the outcomes and all of that on Monday, as you will see plenty of golf over the weekend. Do we have any text messages or anything before we move on to the next topic?
Negative.
Fantastic. Well, do we want to get into Tua talking out this or calling out his criticisms? I mean, I look, man, I said it the other day. I love Tua's mentals, or at least what's still there. And I love the fact that he never really blames anybody but himself. And he usually is one of those guys that you can rely on to say, you know what, no, that loss was on me. I take full responsibility, and he moves on from it. And he's a very, relief pitcher-esque quarterback. Move on to the next. I messed up, but it is what it is. But he's now calling out Cam Newton and all of his critics, including myself, when it comes to his health. What are your thoughts on what he said, by the way? And we'll get into the actual topics.
I really don't have anything to say. The guy is 1 week it was, I don't hear for the media. I don't listen to it. I go home. I watch Disney Plus with my kids. And then the following week, he's talking back to critics. I don't get it.
I know. And again,
I don't get it.
I've been very vocal about how I appreciate his answers to the media and how forthcoming he is, or at least ability to take credit for when he messes up. But I agree with you, because Cam Newton, from what he's saying, it's not wrong. Cam just highlighted that you're making more money than guys like Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, and your production, or at least being on the field and being available for the Miami Dolphins, has been minuscule. You haven't exactly, much like we said about Trevor Lawrence, hasn't been a whole ton of development from you. Hasn't been a whole ton of, oh, look, Tua can now throw 30, 40 yards down the field without any issue. Hasn't been a whole, he can stay on the field and not get hurt. And I agree with you that it's weird to see him go from 1 minute saying,
I don't listen to the media.
Yeah. And it's, it is what it is. We move on to the next game, to, if you talk ill about me in the media, I'm going to come after you now.
Yeah.
It's like, what side are you on, bud?
Shut up and play football.
Because, I mean, at one point you're telling us all you watch on television is Teletubbies and Lulu, or what's that stupid Cocomelon show with your kids. And you don't even watch ESPN, which doesn't make any sense to me at all.
He knew as soon as he said it, because he started to laugh. I was like, that they're just going to clickbait him to this.
Oh, 100%.
And, I heard Unsportsmanlike this morning just laughing. They're like, dude, I agree with the same thing. Just go out and win some games before you start, throwing darts. Because as of right now, you're just setting yourself up to be a punching bag. And that's what it is.
It really is. And I would understand it more if he was going after just the pundits. Like if he was just going after guys like Stephen A. Smith or Rich Eisen or anybody.
Evan Cohen took it personal this morning, and I was like, dude, just calm down.
It's like, it's not like that, but it's more of like when you're going after guys like Cam, like now we're dishing on a side that you really shouldn't be talking.
And personally, as a Dolphin fan, even without Cam's comments, I can't stand Cam.
I know.
I get it. He reminds me of like he's fishing like Stephen A. Smith, where he throws out fires and tries to, stir it up. I
yeah,
I
look,
will back Cam on this one though.
yeah, that's what I'm saying though, and that's what I'm saying is, although I will agree with you, a lot of Cam's comments online, or at least the clips you see if you don't watch his pod, a lot of it can be clickbaity and very angering and all that type of stuff. He's a polarizing figure, always has been since he's been playing. But
That's
you
how you
have,
get views.
well, yeah, but you also have to realize that this is Cam. This is Cam Newton. Like, it's just like if it came from Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. Like, this is somebody who played the position and honestly played it better than you with more scrutiny and got further. So I wouldn't be taking shots at Cam. I would look at it and say, look, Cam is a legend. Cam has his opinions, and I appreciate them, although they're not good for me. But it is what it is. Like, you should have given the answer you give all the time when it came to Cam Newton,
Yeah, he
and
came
then
out
gone
this
after
morning.
pundits.
He came out this morning and said it had nothing to do with Cam. That wasn't the question. You guys are just
Right.
spinning my words, and that's what they do. That's the media. But you set yourself up.
You really
I
did.
don't feel bad for you.
Not at all. And honestly, it's kind of like the Micah Parsons situation earlier in the week when, Schefter released the tweet of it's going to be painful when he sacks Dak. Schefter probably didn't take it that way when he heard him say it. But you have to know when you type that out and you just release that statement
They're
that
gonna run with it.
everybody in the media is going to run with it as, oh, he's coming out for blood. I mean, that's the first thing a lot of people thought when they read that was Mike is coming out in a revenge game. This is going to be ugly for Dallas, and Dak's probably leaving on the stretcher. But no, what he was actually saying was, it's going to pain me to hit my guy, but I got to do what I got to do because it's my job. So it's like, yeah, but I agree with you. I mean, you're taking the words and you're spinning them a little bit here in these stories.
It's a Thursday press conference before your Monday night game. How about you just talk about the game coming up?
Yeah.
You're an 0-3 quarterback and need a W this week. I wouldn't have even answered the question, but I'm not Tua. I'm not a millionaire. And personally, as a Dolphin fan, I took it as like, dude, just keep your focus and don't answer the stupid questions because you're Tua. They're always going to ask about your injury. They're always going to ask about those type of things. And it's just setups. And you hit that one right out of the park because you ate it.
I could not agree with you more. And as Tom Hardy said in Mad Max, that's bait. That's bait, bud. And you are the dumbest dolphin to bite it. Before we go to a break real quick, do you want to get into this Logan Paul story a little, since there's not a whole ton to it just yet besides what's developing?
So yeah, the Logan Paul has filed a injunction in Texas to block Heritage Auctions from finalizing the sale of a selection of it's a piece of the United Center floor that Michael Jordan has signed. And as a collector, anybody that collects anything that is autographed or signed, you always want to double check the authenticity and where that authenticity comes from. And Paul, he won a bid for almost $600,000 for this piece of the United Center signed by Jordan. But when he was asking about the authenticity, they kept holding him off, but gave him a deadline to make the payment. And he's like, dude, I'm not paying for this until I can see the authenticity. And to tell you the truth, I would do the same thing.
Yeah, no, I would not, just especially if you see how much he paid for this, $560,000.
I don't care if it was $5.
I know. I'm not paying
If
for
you
it
don't have
until
the
you show
authenticity,
me that actually Michael signed this piece of the floor and that this is even a piece of the floor from Chicago.
Exactly. And that's what he's starting to question.
It's like, that's why I'm saying it's like this didn't make a lot of sense to me when you hear of these auctions just kind of pushing it out and then them trying to strong arm him into paying for it before even getting any authenticity proof or anything like that is wild to me. I'm sure they get this over on a lot of people, but I don't blame him either. I would sit there and say, no, I'm not paying you a single dime until you show me that this is an authentic piece of the floor and actually Michael's signature. Because I swear
Heritage has gotten in trouble in the past with these types of things. So I was more surprised that he was even in the auction, but obviously a big piece. If you're a basketball fan, a Bulls fan, or a Jordan fan, I mean, that is a collectible piece.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, dude, he is a massive sports collector in general. If you really look at his collection, I mean, he has a stick from Wayne Gretzky that's signed. He's got so much memorabilia, probably from the WWE as well. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm shook that they would go to this length, though, to just try to pull it like the wool over his eyes. I feel like this is probably an authentic piece. They're just being, but don't know why you would wait this long to show it. You know
And
what
in
I
that
mean?
world, if it was,
Well, in the world
we're
we
talking
live in
about six hundred
today,
thousand dollars. I mean, if you want that money,
right? And
just show the picture. Usually they have a serial number. You could look it up right there on the internet. It'd be taken over in 5 minutes. But now it's a
exactly.
ESPN story.
But and honestly, it's just going to get worse for you too, because if this ends up being a fake, they'd come and shut you down, especially Chicago. I mean, could you imagine if the Bulls found out that somebody was selling a fake piece of their stadium floor with their prized player's name forged on there? Oh, you want to talk about copyright strikes? He, ooh, you're getting slapped with a lot of lawsuits after that.
But we'll take a break. I got a couple more collectible stories that came up in the news this week, and we'll prepare for Mr. Chris Flail, local comedian, to jump in at 8 o'clock. We'll talk anything and everything. I know we probably have a couple comments of the WNBA playoffs, some wrestling talk. We'll get into that. Plus, you can always call or text in with your fantasy questions or any sports comments, whatever you got. Text them in 842-2000. We are the Early Bird Special.
Welcome back. This is
I thought you were gonna rap.
no, heck no. That was you.
Oh my
Which
gosh!
reminds me, I gotta actually go back and cut that. I
Don't do
forgot.
that.
Thank you.
Don't do
No,
that.
no, no, no. You reminded me. I gotta go find that now.
But
I
to
have the
keep
show
it
too.
in the collectible world, I caught this story yesterday, but the Tony Hawk,
Oh yeah, I saw this.
the skateboard that he did his first 900 caught over $1 million. That pretty much broke any collectible when it comes to skateboarding equipment. But the other one was Cal's 60th home run. And I'm sure you've seen this video of the fan catching the ball and then giving it to a kid that was sitting in the same area. And I was
As you
reading,
should, Karen.
and afterwards I was trying to find out, what the kid did with it. And the team and the security, they took the child and his father, to get the ball authenticated immediately.
Oh yeah.
And then the Mariners said the boy traded the ball for a bat signed by Cal, and he got the invite to go watch, batting practice at the next game. So that's the way to do it for a fan. Not only does the kid, remember, his pops taking him to the game and getting the ball, but not only that, but he gets, a personalized signed bat by Cal.
Well, and the other cool part of this story too is Cal met the fan that caught the ball as well. They actually pulled him in and allowed him and Cal to meet. I don't know if he got anything, but I know they obviously the ball was far too valuable for them to say, yeah, we're just gonna let this kid walk off with that. Plus, I'm sure Cal wants that for his trophy case. Real question is, with 3 games left, obviously the Seattle Mariners taking on the Dodgers over the weekend.
And I've heard that a lot of backups will be playing.
Oh yeah, no, because both teams are now locked in and they don't really need to play anymore.
So I had to backtrack my bets with the
I know. I was
local Dodger fans.
I mean, you heard me earlier in the week. I thought this could actually have way more implications than expected. And honestly, for the Dodgers, it kind of does. Because if they slip up and get swept and the Padres somehow win all 3, they, I think, take the NL West. I'm not sure on that one. But I think if that's how it boils down, it would go that way. The team, though, that's really in trouble this weekend continues to be the Tigers, although they finally busted their 8-game losing streak yesterday and tied it back up with the Guardians. We are still on the verge of the biggest collapse in baseball's 150-year history. And I'm not exaggerating. That is literal. That is a 16-game lead months ago that it has been floundered and given away. Now, still going to make the playoffs, I see, but going into the playoffs, clearly the coldest team in baseball wouldn't exactly be ecstatic going into the playoff run at all. So the Tigers are going to be a big question mark going in, and I'm still predicting this. Mets are going to flounder. Mets are going to lose that spot. Cincinnati's going to come up and take it because at this point, they're only a game behind. And the Mets, if tied with the Cincinnati Reds, would lose out because they don't have the tiebreaker. Personally, I think the Reds are going to take that final wild card spot in the NL, but we'll see. There's the last couple games over the weekend, which we'll get you all caught up on as well. And then there's a story out of the Ryder Cup real quick before we get to our break that made me just kind of scratch my head. And no, it's not Bryson DeChambeau and Rory McIlroy's rivalry against each other as both of them silently take shots at each other. Well, actually, not so silently because Bryson literally told Rory that he choked at the U.S. Open. But the story that I have to talk about is there are some players in this year's Ryder Cup that told their families not to come because of fan interaction being so negative and hateful that they were afraid that their parents were going to get scrutinized. And we're talking about Matt Fitzpatrick. I feel bad. Like, I genuinely feel I read this story and I immediately go to what we've talked about a million times about how fans don't act right and how fans here are just terrible. And we're even seeing it in golf. Golf. Really? You guys are golf fans are going after the parents of golfers? Get over yourselves. Come on, boys. And I'm saying boys because it's boys. Let's be honest.
Children.
This is ridiculous. For Fitzpatrick to look at his parents and
Go
say,
stay
"No,
home.
don't come with me to the biggest thing that I've done besides the Masters. Don't come watch me play in the Ryder Cup and represent all of the world." No, because American fans are so bad over there. They're going to badger you the entire time, and I don't want you guys dealing with that.
Can't act right.
That's ridiculous.
Was it like the what was it, the AEW guy?
Yeah.
Was he in a basement or something?
I have no idea.
I mean, these fans are getting crazier and crazier, and it's strange that it's even dragged into golf.
And I just want to say a formal apology to the Fitzpatrick family and all of that, because that's ridiculous. Americans, start acting right, man. This is dumb. Nobody can even go to a freaking golf event without the thought of being badgered by fans. That's on you. That's ridiculous. We got to take a break. We got comedian Chris Flail on the other side, lighting up your guys' Fridays. Then we got the voice of the Raiders, Jason Horowitz, right after that. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield.
So I wanted to bring this up yesterday, and I remembered Flail was coming in.
I'm wondering what
But the announcement of the Macho Man biopic
Oh
No.
yeah.
From Keenan. I was like, dude, that is awesome. I
That's
know
the best.
they've done a couple documentaries, but I think Keenan will do it right. And
Well,
I
do
know
they
he's a
get
vintage fan, but I know all they said that the screenplay was actually written by Macho Man's brother before he passed away, and Keenan got his hands on it and was a big fan. He said he even worked with Randy Savage when he was working with Nickelodeon in the late '90s, and he was just pleased to be a part of it. So him and his, I guess Keenan's got his own group, a developing feature group called Artists for Artists, and they're working on it now.
Although this is just for a sidebar, but I need to see some sort of nod to his entire Slim Jim run.
Yes.
He has to.
Yes, and the nod better be done by LA Knight. He
Yes.
better do, because he has eaten
Honestly,
so many.
if LA Knight came into the whole movie, I'd be okay.
That would
with
he
it,
does it
but
as Macho Man.
Yeah, that'd be so great. That is actually interesting to me. But do you think they're going to get into all the dark stuff between him and Sherry? And I mean,
it was going to go into the beginning with baseball and how he got into wrestling. It was the whole thing. So I'm hoping that they do it right.
Again, in a what?
It was a bad ending.
This is a documentary though, or is this
it's a biopic movie?
Well, and he was
How much
pretty
can they
open
get done
about
in
that
3
darkness
hours,
too.
though?
So
yeah, that's true. They've shared a lot of it on WWE networks too.
And if it's being done by his brother, that's a great sign. So a couple years ago, I went down a rabbit hole where I became obsessed with biographies written by someone close to the person being written about. It started with, I found this book called Waylon, written about Waylon Jennings by his oldest son, who when he was, I think, 15 years old, dropped out of high school to be Waylon's tour manager. So he loved him to death like a father, but he was a kid who had to grow up too quickly. So he was completely honest about everything that happened. And he saw, there's a good sign if his brother's doing it.
That's it. Well, yeah. And especially since most of the time with these biopics, the families are usually the ones that are very outspoken about how much they hate it.
Yeah.
So if a family member's connected to the movie, I would assume the rest of the family is going to be okay with the story that gets told. I would assume.
I mean, we've seen it with a lot of them, whether it was the Freddie Mercury one or Johnny Cash, and a ton of them where people are like, "Oh, that was all fake," you know. But when it has a family member that has a different side of it, I think it usually works better.
Yeah.
But like you'd said, you never know. Hopefully they are able to catch both sides of the Macho Man. He was one of my favorites growing up, so hopefully they do him justice.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that.
It'd be hard not to. He's one of those figures in the WWE that everybody kind of just goes straight to when you think wrestling.
Yeah.
It's usually him or Hulk Hogan. I mean, Andre, Stone Cold, but like like I said, everybody really knows the story, I guess, for the most part. But I'm just curious how much they're going to get into in probably a 2-hour span.
Sure.
With a biopic. Because I mean, that's really what it is how can you fit this dude's incredible life into 2 hours?
Right.
And especially if you're trying to show the entirety of his career.
Many
that's
acts
pretty wild.
into 2 hours. Yeah.
Well, literal. I mean, he never had 2 different hats.
Yeah.
Chris Flail, obviously in the studio with us. I don't think we actually introed you, comedian.
Yeah, good to be here
again.
Good to see you boys. I came home early from Pismo just to hang with you guys this morning.
You could have jumped on the video.
Bakersfield Beach. No, I don't like the Zoom, and there's always delay, and I like being in the room with. I want to look at your face.
That's what it is.
I held off the
I want to look
intro.
at your handsome face.
After I got
Sparky,
after I got my
great to
face demolished when I tried to intro you last time, I was like, I'll let Burdick drool all over you before I do it.
I just get no intro now.
Hey, Chris is here. Cool.
That's what you get. That's what you get for throwing it in his face.
That's fair.
We got to talk to you about all things WNBA and wrestling, though, because obviously that's usually what we do when you're in here. And I don't want to necessarily say throw something at you, but throw something at you.
Let's do it.
Because last time we talked WNBA, I got a lot of grief for saying that Angel Reese wasn't a generational talent.
Sure.
Have you heard all of this stuff that's been going on with her recently? Her calling out teammates by name, saying that they are the reason the Chicago Sky suck and that they don't know how to play basketball at a tough rate.
She's not wrong.
I have not seen this. I can't believe that she's going by name. Still generational talent, but like many young generational talents, generational
y'all are going to die on
bonehead.
this hill, aren't you?
Generational bonehead. Also,
yeah,
also.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
so and here's
I mean, it's gotten to the point now where they're mulling over either just dropping her or trading her.
Well, they're going to have to, but and then the question is, who is she traded to? Because she generational talent on a bad team, so she's the best player on her team. The problem is, wherever she's going to be sent next, she will not be the best player on that team. Like, for example, we're talking WNBA playoffs right now. I've been saying this all year to chuckles when I say this to people, but I would say, when it comes to the Indiana Fever, I'm not saying this to be inflammatory. Caitlin Clark might be the third best player on that team.
Right.
Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston, when she comes back, they should play through Aaliyah Boston anyway. They may win a title without her. If they have to deal Angel Reese from Chicago, she's in a very sweet spot where she gets to be Chi-Town Barbie, because she's by and far the best player currently on that team. Wherever she goes next, I don't think she's going to be the most talented scorer, defender, anything there. So she better figure this out before they do send her somewhere.
Again, I would only say Angel Reese is the greatest me bounder on the team. I would never say,
counts.
But it does to a point. I don't know. I saw these stories and I immediately went back to the conversation we were having about this and just the immaturity of it all at points. Because I mean, you see it with Caitlin when it comes to her anger on the court and like her frustrations with referees, and it's like, okay, there's a little bit of immaturity there you got to get over. But for Angel, it seems like she's pointing it at the teammates more than anything, which is a big no period in sports.
Well, and it seemed like at the start of her career, she was going to be the anti that. You do see that with Caitlin on the court. She's got a lot of shades of Luka Doncic, openly shrugging at her teammates on the court, but you never see that off the court. Angel seemed like the teammate's teammate on the court, and that is severely changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that just might have been her time at LSU and just the coaching they had there, but there is something weird about this where it seems like she's either acting out either just to get out of basketball altogether or just get out of Chicago. Maybe she just doesn't like playing there.
I think she was just frustrated towards the end of the season and took it out. And she's young and she will have to learn from it. But I personally think she'll get traded.
Well, and there's this thing where we've been talking about, it's been a common thread with the three of us, where the WNBA is not where the NBA is yet, but they continue to emulate. It's poor practice when an NBA star decides to blow up a franchise on their way out. But the league is established and profitable, and the contracts are big enough, and LeBron did player empowerment to where unfortunately, that's where the league is right now. That is not where the WNBA is, but they keep following these downside footsteps that are definitely, I mean, this next collective bargaining, maybe the social element will keep them in a good position, but if it does not, they were going to get buried in this negotiation.
And these are the types of stories you hear that really turn people off from wanting to watch it in general, especially when you know the product itself isn't going to be exciting or ecstatic to watch all the time. When you hear some of these athletes just getting, well, for lack of a better term, too big for their own britches, it really just turns people off, especially old school sports fans who hate players who are full of themselves. And that's all this is screaming to me is, Angel, you're full of yourself.
If you're watching Chicago play Dallas, it's two teams that have no chance to get into the. We talked about this. I apologize to bring it up.
Right.
We talked about this with the Dolphins and Tyreek Hill. How much will you put up with for the difference of a 5-12 versus a 7-10 team?
So we get 0-3 Dolphins and 0-3 Jets on Monday night.
Exactly.
I've always said in sports, they will pay you until you become too much of a nuisance. When you become too much of a cancer for more than the $ they pay you can warrant, you're out.
And luckily, Tua's taking the shots this last couple of weeks, just his stupid comments. But now we're not cornering everything what Tyreek is saying. And I think, and I've said it 3 weeks ago, if the Dolphins choke this game out on Monday, we're going to start seeing these fire sales. And luckily, I was listening this morning to Unsportsmanlike, and there is a clause in this Dolphin Tua contract that if he cannot finish the season, they don't have to guarantee his money for next season. But I think if Miami cannot beat the damn Jets on Monday night, we're gonna start seeing. And I heard it yesterday on Thursday night that Arizona is high on trading for Tyreek Hill, which I wasn't expecting a team like that. But
pairing him with Marvin Harrison Jr., though, might not be the worst idea.
It would be a fun.
I mean, you could say
squad.
that with any team.
Yeah, true.
Like with Tyreek.
I will say in Tua's defense, if you're going to fire back at somebody for being unreasonable in their comments, make it a man who bankrupted himself by buying hats.
Nah,
that is a good.
that's fair.
If you spend
Well, look,
$60 million on hats,
If it wasn't for that MVP season, I mean, I would have totally accepted it, because that last 6 years of Cam was horrible to watch. But Cam was an
Cam, when
MVP
he
caliber
was
quarterback.
with Carolina, was a
He was the
completely
guy.
different
Yeah.
monster.
But I'm saying you picked the wrong battle.
True. And again, I just stand by my comments that Cam is probably the only one that I actually give credit to. You could say these things, because you at one point were an MVP, were one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the NFL. And you should be able to openly criticize quarterbacks that are playing today because you've played the position.
That's why it does surprise me that he does it, though, because you're right. He's earned every right to do it. But knowing who you are, and history has been so unfair to how they categorize you.
Yeah, specifically
Why would you be the leading voice to come out on this?
It's the same as all WWE heels. Lean into it. Why not lean into it? They're going to have their opinions of you already, just like us listening to this show. There's probably a whole bunch of people that are wondering how two doofuses have a show on ESPN radio. That's your opinion.
Well, speaking of wrestling, what'd you think about WrestlePalooza?
Oh, man.
There's a lot of people
I teed that one up for you.
Okay. Two things. I mean, of course, F5 City, this Suplex City 2 Electric Boogaloo drove me nuts. It doesn't make any sense to me. I thought when they first showed that it was going to be at AA City, when he was going to give, or he was going to give him 3 or 4 of those, I thought that could have been a perfect way to get this thing so not just the Cena Brock Lesnar thing being a travesty to how you're sending this guy out to ride into the sunset, but I haven't fact checked this, so tell me if I'm wrong, but we've kind of all come out and said Io Sky is the best wrestler in the WWE right now. Michael Cole says it all the time. I think Triple H said it. She was anointed that during SummerSlam. I don't think she's won a match since April.
Probably not, but they do this all the time when it comes to their big guys to give them a reason to claw back up. You have to give your faces something to fight for.
But if we're saying she's the best wrestler, she just got beat clean by Stephanie Vaquer. She got beat by Roxanne. I don't think she's won a match in 6 months.
After she beat Rhea?
She's your best wrestler. You haven't let her pin someone in half a year. What are you doing?
We watched years of CM Punk getting his butt whooped, which I was very happy about. But I also knew it teed up with him and AJ were going to win that match. Yeah. I think my only issue really, I mean, there was a few with WrestlePalooza, but it was just so predictable. And I was really expecting, which we talked about previewing into it, that it was more a kind of the beginning of bringing back of Saturday Night's Main Event than it was a PLE. It was really nothing that jumped out and, this is one of the best PLEs, which, I mean, I could understand it.
If it was better than a Saturday Night's Main Event, I was going to be happy with it. But a lot of people I've seen on the internet are not happy with what we got. I have multiple ideas of why Brock Lesnar ran roughshod through John, one of which is the one a lot of people are running with, which is he's going to be the final match at the end of all of this, and John's going to claw his way back up to it. But there's another hiccup in here that I'm thinking about that I didn't even consider. John might actually end up getting a shot at the Intercontinental title against Dom here in about 2 weeks, in which would make him a what do they call that? Where you get all of the championships. I'm drawing a blank on it right now.
Oh, I don't know.
Full House or whatever. The name is escaping me.
Okay,
but the entire idea is to build John up, which is kind of goes hand in hand with your Io Sky comments. The WWE likes to chink all these guys down a little bit. One, to build up the heels and make them look more ferocious and obviously like bigger hills to climb, because that's what you have to do in the storyline. But also to give the face something to fight for. So if John does come out in the next 2-3 weeks, wins his final championship, that gives him all of them, and then goes into War Games, helps them with that, in which Brock's going to be on the opposite side of. And then the last match you're going to get is going to be Brock and John Cena, and arguably probably the biggest Saturday Night's Main Event of all time.
So it
builds up both the PLE
and would be very interesting.
The story itself.
It would be interesting if they do that. It's a quick timeline to cover that arc. If they can do it, it'd be great. My theory on it is that they outsmarted themselves. I saw the rumblings and rumors that Cena, as of that morning, was slated to win. I don't know if you guys saw that. There was some speculation on that. I think this was the first event on ESPN, and I've struggled with this, especially in comment of sometimes if I do, it takes time to feel like you belong, and sometimes you'll play down to what you think someone's expectations of you are. First event on ESPN, I think that in the writers' room there was that urge of, we need to make this feel a little bit more like a legitimate sport to be. And Brock Lesnar, UFC heavyweight champion, would never lose to an aging, retiring movie star, John Cena, on his way out. For this first one, we need to make it look realistic. And shout out to your network for having a journalist that did a review on the event and said, I give this as a C. We didn't bring you on to do the other stuff that we host. We brought you on to be the spectacle that you are. I was very proud that they didn't just toe the line and go A++. They went, no, this is not the event.
This is not what we were expecting.
This is not the event that we paid you to come over for.
And I was expecting the kind of the same thing. All the matches we saw, there wasn't any change-ups, curveballs. We knew Stephanie was going to get the title. I was more happy because Io will finally get Io and Asuka, which I've been looking forward to. And
I really thought that was going to be for the belt, though.
I know Burdick had brought up in our chat yesterday, but it looks like Liv might be coming soon. My question is to both of you is, where do you think she's going to fit? Because there is so much going on with these women's side in these stories, whether you look at, Asuka and Io, we've got the, Rhea and Vicaire teaming up. I mean, we've already got, the Piper's already hurt, so they're kind of spinning that with the her service or whatever the hell they're called.
Secret Hervis, yeah. That's the only reason I know that's because that's my favorite name right now.
I'm just wondering where can they put a champ like Liv?
Throw her smack dab in the middle of it, to be honest with you, and it's all going to be centered around, I think, the Judgment Day finally blowing up. Because when we've talked about it for months, but when she comes back, they're going to have to all come to a head of, who the heck is Roxanne? Why is she here? Why is she so close to Dom? Why is Dom now running the show instead of Finn? I left Finn in charge. Why do you two are just sitting behind being all, angry in the corner while Dom is going out here messing around with luchadors? Like, there's going to be a whole bunch going on there.
That's where only place where I'm kind of lost how they can fit Cena and Dom in the next couple of weeks with all this other crap
this
going on.
This is just going to be, I feel Cena's going to come out in Raw in 2 weeks or in a week, wherever they're going to have him. I can't remember what the date is. He'll just have a promo. I'm sure they'll throw it out there, being Dom probably just beats Rusev or something like that, who used to be one of John's biggest rivals. He'll come out and say, I've beaten your biggest rival easier than you did. Give him the match, and then you just take that belt off of him. Because at this point, Dom with the AAA Mega Championship, you have to just keep him down in Mexico and build that thing up, because it is
going to make that huge.
Oh, it's going to be massive. And it really is. If you haven't gotten a chance to watch Worlds Collide or any of the AAA stuff that they've done, it is so top tier, entertaining wrestling to watch. Like, it really is what you would expect from luchadors.
We're going to Mexico City in November. And
Are you really?
I was checking the schedule. It's kind of tough to find, but I really want to get to see.
If you can go down there and see a show, you need to, because it is so much fun from what I can tell. And oh my God, some of the characters they have down there. There's literally a guy called Psycho Clown who has a mask where his face is rippable.
Nice.
And it rips right off, just like Joker. And that's part of his shtick, is like somewhere during the match, he goes crazy and rips his face off in front of the opponent and freaks him out. It gives me boogeyman vibes that WWE really doesn't touch anymore.
Sure.
And you need that in wrestling. It's what makes it fun.
You need the sideshow match. Psycho Clown versus Mr. Iguana.
Exactly.
Let's do it.
It's so much fun.
Will the clown scare the iguana?
We had a puppet fight between Finn Balor and Mr. Iguana.
Finn Balor?
And it was the greatest thing that happened that weekend.
Yeah.
It broke the internet. But again, this is what ESPN is talking about in that C rating, is like, dude, we don't need you to come in and be a sports spectacle. We got UFC for that.
Exactly.
Like, be wrestling. Be what these kids are here to see.
I was so excited when I saw the match card, and I was like, whoa, Cena Lesnar is kicking this thing off. Hate to be match number 2, but then you see it, and you're like, oh man, here it is.
That's the only thing that kind of made me feel we were going to get the rough shot Brock Lesnar just running through him. because it's like, why would you start with this? This
Mhm.
to me felt like it should have been the main event. Cody and Drew should have been the first.
I
one.
worry that they're using this to put Cody over for another 6 months. I
Probably.
worry they had Brock run through him so that he's the unstoppable monster.
Again.
So we gotta punch the ground and whoa for another 4 months and see what we all know we're gonna see.
I was hoping Drew was gonna get that title too.
I know.
And when I was like,
He's just never gonna get the title.
I don't think he is either, which is such a freaking crime.
I
But
know.
I don't think we're going to get Brock and Cody just because we had that trifecta of matches last year, and it would be dumb to really turn your back on that entire story, because that really was Brock kind of handing the torch to Cody and say, all right, I'm done here.
Yeah.
You're the unbeatable blonde
Well,
guy.
one thing I am happy that they've switched the stories and we're not having to force fed the Seth and CM Punk anymore for at least now. I do like the Seth and Cody angle right now, but I know it's always going to circle right back around where we started. I was looking at the fight card for tonight. I know we've got the triple threat with Tiffany, Jade, and Nia. You think it's we were talking about this Tuesday, that some of us think it might be time that Tiff loses this belt.
I don't know. I was Tiff is so good for the company, by the way. So just through doing this, I know you guys are here, but through doing this, my little goofy skits for the last couple of years, I've just become in the orbit with just these regional like wrestling shows and podcasts and all that around the country. Like I just got connected with this guy in Louisville that does a decently big podcast but it's Louisville. Tiffy does his show. I know she did this show. She gives it everything when she's on there. She really carries that banner for the company.
And she's grown so much.
Big time. And so I don't know what they're going to do with that. If she does drop the belt, it would have to be to get on a story arc for something bigger down the road. But it's going to, with all the stuff going on right now with Stephanie, Io, Rhea, you've got Liv coming back. It's going to be hard to jam her into that. So I don't know how you take her off of this right now.
My only concern with I would love for her to keep it and we see Stephanie and Tiffy at Crown Jewel, because that would be a fantastic match. But the only thing that concerns me is the same thing I said on Tuesday. Who does she have left?
Right.
She's already beat Jade a couple times. She's beaten Nia multiple times. There's really nobody on SmackDown that can face off with her right now, because everybody's in the middle of something on Raw or on SmackDown themselves. And there's nobody really of caliber that you could walk up and say, okay, I could see her with the belt.
Yeah.
So that's my only thing, is it would make a lot of sense, not only to get the face and the heel effect at Crown Jewel, for her to drop the belt, probably to Nia. It would more likely go to Nia than it would to Jade, although it wouldn't necessarily be out of the realm of possibility that maybe Bianca comes back and gets thrown into this at some point.
Well, and to your point, Nia's probably the best on the mic outside of Becky in the women's division. So
silently too. She never gets to talk.
She doesn't, but she always has a good punch at the crowd whenever she does it. So it would be, if you give her the belt now, it would be a good ramp up to Crown Jewel.
And she's kind of had the full circle moment. She lost to Tiffy, obviously, so Tiffy could get the belt for a while. She left to NXT, beat up on some girls, taught them lessons, and came back to her confidence level. And I just feel like it's time for them to kind of just come back full circle, have Tiffy look at it and say, okay, my biggest hurdle is still the queen over here. And let's also not forget, just like I just said, she won last time. And who else is in the other match right now but the king of the ring? So why not have the queen of the ring in there as well?
Fair.
And just have it go that way? Because Crown Jewel obviously wants the best of the best every single time. But the other question I had for you too, since we didn't get to talk to you, what are your thoughts on Saudi Arabia getting WrestleMania in 2027?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of just the way everything is going right now, and I'm conflicted because you look at it and you go, oh man, and I don't like the events when they're there. It seems it's kind of clunky and stilted to me, and then I mean the political aspect, I take myself out of that because I'm like we as a nation do deals and agreements with Saudi Arabia. You want the WWE to be the one that's we can't stand. We're signing agreements in Washington with Saudi Arabia. You want comedians to go, not me. Like I get it.
I was thinking the same thing.
I don't like it personally, but I'm like, why do we need Triple H to be our ambassador to Riyadh when we actually have one? Yeah, we have an ambassador that shakes their hand or whatever every event.
You lose a bet or something. I was looking at the cost, the ticket prices for next year's WrestleMania in Vegas. I was like, well, damn.
$800 for the cheapest seats you can find.
I just saw that for the NFL game in Ireland because I was just looking at the schedule. Cheapest tickets, $800. Who can go? Finn Balor. That's it.
For the Steelers and Vikings. Wow.
Yeah, right.
That's
Wow.
not even close to being worth it. I'm sorry.
That's got to be €1,150 or whatever they're doing.
I
out there.
know.
I don't know.
I have no idea what the actual trade is in Ireland. That's a good question.
Speaking of being able to pay too much money for things, I'm going to a country club tonight.
Are you? Oh,
Yes.
that's right.
I am.
You're going to be in Fresno tonight.
I am. If you're in a high tax bracket in Fresno, you've got a show coming.
Did
tonight.
the Seven Oaks Country Club just hook up all? You got a country club tour going on?
It must be. This is actually put on by a guy who's he's the Fresno legend comedian. His name
Right
is
on.
Feather DeWise, and he is the genesis from which every good Fresno comedian flows. He is absolute crusher. And he's putting on this show, so I was very honored that he reached out to me to do it. So
Beautiful.
It's gonna be a banger tonight.
And
after banger,
banger after banger, and then you have a show out in Morro Bay.
Are you coming to that?
I'm hoping to.
Let's do it. Let's have some
I
drinks and
showed
stare
the-
at the
I
stone.
I showed the wife. I showed the wife, and she's like, I love Morro Bay. So
That's how I know
And
I'm
Boydson.
220 years old, because my favorite place in the state is
Morro
Morro
Bay.
Bay. Yeah, I just want to sit on I want to be in a town that closes at 7:30 p.m. and stare at a giant rock.
And yet you came from Pismo.
I came
Yeah,
from Pismo.
right?
Oh.
I came from Pismo.
I
is
don't
there
know.
a comedy
Just for you
club
boys.
in Morro Bay?
No. There's
Where is it at? By the
It's
rock?
at Foghorn Brewing.
Okay.
But they have been involved in comedy for a long time. They've been putting
Okay.
on shows there for a while, and they're very intertwined.
Is that on that
with
one
comedians.
street
I sure hope so, because I don't want to walk home from any of the other
from
streets.
the pizza
That's
place?
one thing I will say. I love the Morro Bay people, but the locals they have that 1,000-yard stare about them.
Oh,
that
yeah.
life's
Yeah.
been too comfortable for too long.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to walk home at 11:30. Hi,
Hey,
like okay,
it
man.
gets dark out there sometimes, man. I stayed on the wrong street out in Morro Bay once with my son, and he wanted something, a Gatorade or something. We had watched a movie, and it was pushing, midnight.
Yeah.
And we took the walk around, and it wasn't on that main street. And I was like, okay, maybe there is a small little ghetto out in Morro
There's-
Bay, because people were looking at us crazy.
Hills have eyes with an
I
ocean,
was like,
baby.
damn.
Yeah.
I
There's
would
a wrong
never
street
expect
there's a wrong street everywhere.
Everywhere.
That's right.
Oh my God.
But we'll definitely have to look at that show, and that's in October.
That's October 24th. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
Which is a Friday, I believe.
I believe that is a Friday.
Awesome.
Friday
What time
night.
is the show tonight as well?
Show tonight is at 7 p.m. I mean, you can't come unless you're a member, but just know that you would have had a great time.
You can't pull I
You
know
gotta be
flail
able-
card.
I know, really. But can you record them though and put them up on YouTube or anything like that?
I
Is that
might be able
allowed?
to, because I'm not at the San Francisco Eyes Wide Shut Club
I
that
know,
didn't let me record they and their misters and mistresses. So I can probably do
Nah,
this.
this
one.
one's just a regular country
These
club,
are just
right?
good folks with too much money.
Because I
They're not
swear,
doing anything.
If he comes back in 2 weeks and tell us that he was at another risque club, I'm going to be curious who your agent
Well-
is and why he's booking you for all
Well,
of these
if I
things.
don't, if I
Clearly,
don't,
you kill.
if I don't come back in 2 weeks,
Well,
I'm a pool boy in
Yes,
Fresno
exactly.
for a very lovely older couple that just can't get down like they used to.
Oh my God. Oh man, thank you so much, man. We really appreciate your time. We
I
got to
love you
get
guys.
to a break. This is the early bird special, 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. It's time to talk Raiders football with our guy Jason Horowitz, the voice of the Las Vegas Raiders. Sir, how are you? Thank you for joining us in video today.
Yeah, how about that? One of these days it actually works.
Right? I'm sorry
Although
about
now
that.
you get to see,
Touchy.
now you guys get to see how tired I am in
Dude.
like I got 6 eyes going right here.
I mean, well, you were able to go to Washington to obviously follow the Raiders in that game against the Commanders last week. Didn't end the way we wanted it to, but I mean, what were your thoughts on the game as a whole?
I mean, right from the get-go, it was a you could tell something was off, right? Deebo Samuel had a 69, 70-yard kickoff return, and really from there it was downhill. I liked the fight that the Raiders had to get back from that hole to tie things up at 10, but guys, it was kind of reminiscent last year of the Denver game, and Washington scored 24 unanswered after that, and a lot of the numbers that were put up late kind of were some window dressing. Trey Tucker, it was really nice to see have a breakout performance, but it puts a lot of pressure on Sunday afternoon against Chicago, right? No question about that.
Absolutely. And I mean, the Trey Tucker thing, I have to highlight that as well, because from what we saw in Vegas on Tuesday, Geno is really starting to target Trey and trying to get him involved in this offense more and more. Was that by design, you think, or is it just the chemistry between the two of them is the best between obviously all the wide receivers?
Well, I mean, Geno talked about that in training camp. He compared Trey Tucker to Santana Moss, in some other, and obviously it works out that he has his best game, and it's in Washington where Santana really became a
Right.
household name. So, so it's some of that, but we want to say that, but then week 2 against LA, Trey was completely a non-factor and wasn't targeted, didn't have any real impact on the game. So, look, I think sometimes we overreact to week 1, then we overreact to week 2, and then we overreact to week 3. But the reality is after week 4, you're 25% almost of the season, right? And so now you start to actually have developments of what an NFL season is going to be. And the Bears defense is kind of a mixed bag, right? Statistically, after the first 2 weeks, I believe they had given up the most points, but you've only played 2 games, and one of those they allowed 52. So, I think you're starting to kind of get a feel now for what a team really is, and in this particular game, I think the Raiders' offensive line is really going to have its hands full, both pass protection and moving the ball on the ground. So this is going to be a telltale sign, I think, of what's to come.
I have to agree, and I think this is going to be a great test for the Raiders, obviously, because the Bears getting their first win with Ben Johnson last week. Do you think that Chip has any idea of how to get Genty going as well? I saw a statistic that 100% of his yards have come from after his contact or something like that. It was a ridiculous stat. So do you think there's going to be any kind of scheming to potentially get him an open lane instead of having to take these hits?
Yeah, the funny thing is I'm sure those stats have been thrown around in previous years, and we always have more analytics and more things. So this is something that probably wasn't discussed 15 years ago, 30 years ago, right? Barry Sanders was always hit behind the line of scrimmage. So I'm sure these numbers have been around, but I've never seen it before, right? I believe the number is 145 yards after contact, and on the season he has 144 yards. So it's something crazy like that. The answer to your question is I hope so, right? And we haven't been told this for sure yet because we've been talking this week about hearing about competition. I think we will see Jackson Powers Johnson back in the starting lineup. He's healthy. He had a full week of practice. Pete Carroll said after the game last week that he hadn't really had a full practice, so they wanted to let Alex Kappa be back in there at right guard. But I don't know, guys. I mean, week 1, Genty had 22 yards on his first 3 carries, and then he had 16 yards on 16 carries after that. And, and Geno Smith was sacked 4 times in week 1, and then he was sacked 3 and now 5. So I'm not sure what is going to look different until we actually see it look different. And I don't know if that means getting the ball outside on pass plays to Genty more than run plays. I don't know if it means, last night I saw a really cool play on the second play of the game in the Seahawks-Cardinals game where They spread Kenneth Walker out wide, and Darnold took the snap, immediately threw it down the line of scrimmage, and it went for a 29-yard pass play. Maybe it's something like that. I don't know, but they're going to have to figure it out because Ashton is too special in open space to not get him the ball in open space.
I agree with you. And honestly, he's a dynamic player. Just the thought of him having 100% of his yards really contact is wild to me. How do you think the defense is going to approach going against a guy like Caleb? Obviously, he likes to play his version of hero ball, run around a lot. Max Crosby, though, is one of the best at being able to chase down those types of quarterbacks. So how do you think they're going to do this?
Well, this has to be, and this is not, it's going to sound like it's a knock on Max. It's not a knock on Max, right? He is the heart and soul of this team. He has been for 5-6 years. Everyone knows how special he is, and everyone knows how good he is. And his numbers even this year show that he's having a good season. But the reality is, the last 2 weeks, and this probably speaks volumes to his character about how much he's fighting to the end. But the reality is the last 2 weeks, he's kind of been neutralized in the first 3 quarters. And it's not until the game is seemingly out of reach until he's starting to flash and some of those skills. And so I think some of that has to show up in the first half, right, Max? Because if that does, that's also then going to open things up for some of the other guys to make some plays too. So I am looking for a special first half for Max against the Bears and Caleb Williams. So I want to see some of that. The tackling the first 2 weeks, you guys, was good. The tackling in Washington was bad, and they were the first ones to admit that after the game. So that has to be cleaned up. But Kirk Morrison's the ultimate optimist, and my partner says in his review of the tape is that, hey, it's all correctable stuff. So hopefully they get it corrected, and this looks like a different game. But I'd say this, Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, I think, are just going to start to mesh, and they're only going to get better. And you start looking at the weapons they have with Rome Odunze and DJ Moore, and they got guys. And so this is DeAndre Swift in the past game. Like, they got guys. So this is a tough test.
Absolutely. And honestly, I think you guys have the secondary to really match up with these receivers, though. The chemistry between Caleb and DJ really hasn't been there as much as you would think it would be. But Rome Odunze has silently become one of the better receivers for Chicago. So it's going to be a big test there. Are there any major injuries or anything the Raiders are dealing with right now?
Well, major in that you still have the Brock Bowers situation, right? I mean, he's played the last 2 weeks, but his numbers, his effect don't seem to be the same as he was in week 1 or any point of last year. So look, he's playing, but is he effective is the question. Michael Mayer is still in concussion protocol. So now you got that aspect. So tight end, where you felt was a strength, now has got an injury. So that's your one spot. The reality is, other than that, though, the Raiders have come out pretty healthy the first 3 games. So you feel good about that. But I would push back a little bit on your Caleb Williams, DJ Moore. I mean, the dude still had 90-some catches last year. So, and they're going to get him the ball in space when he, as a rusher as well. So I think it's more on last year, Caleb Williams took 68 sacks. Last week, Caleb Williams was not sacked at all. And they didn't turn it over. And the offense didn't have a single pre-snap penalty. So is that more of a indictment of the Cowboys defense, or is that about the Bears getting better? And I don't know the answer. We'll find out on Sunday.
Honestly, I would lean more towards the Bears figuring it out on the offensive line. They made a lot of great moves, putting in Thuney and stuff like that.
They spent a lot of money. Yeah,
absolutely.
Between Thuney and Dahlman, they spent a lot of money on the interior of their offensive line.
And what better way to make Caleb look good than to keep him upright? I mean, the Raiders are eventually going to learn that with Geno at some point, I would hope. But
by the way, I'm shocked, by the way, that Sparky didn't jump in right from the get-go, because is he not a Dolphins fan? Did we not discuss this the first time? And he didn't bring up the fact that I was there to see the Tyreek Hill drop and did the Bills Dolphins last week, and the Tua interception with a chance to win the game.
Surprised.
I mean,
I don't think it was. I don't think it was the
Tyreek
thing. I don't think it was the Tua or the Tyreek. I think they were shooting themselves right after running into the kicker like they did in week 1. They had the game in their hands. They had, I would talk to our handicapper Bull Brady, who we're talking, take the money, because they were giving Buffalo 12.5. And if you took it, Miami did that part of the job. But yeah, we talked about Tua this morning, about his comments about Cam Newton. I don't have anything to say. I've made my promo. If Miami is 0-4 with 3 division losses, then it's time to clean something up and start up at the top with GM Chris Greer. But with Raider fans, what I've heard this week here in Bakersfield anyway, that they haven't given up quite yet. They're waiting on that Geno type that we've saw in Seattle. And on paper, if you look at the last year and a half or year and first 3 weeks of this season, Caleb doesn't really play well on the road. I believe he's 1-8 on the road. So we'll see if that Ben Johnson or will be the change of that, or that offensive line keeps him up.
I mean, in all fairness, one of those losses though was like the Commanders' Hail Mary. So like, and he, I mean, they were 5-12 last year, right? So when you are 5-12, you probably have a bad road record, and it's not like they were great at home either. So like, you got a combo of that. Look,
I'm not ready to jump on any Bears bandwagon yet. I'm not sold yet.
There was a great article this week. I think it was in The Athletic from the gentleman who covers the Bears and has for a long time, used to for the Chicago Star Tribune, who was like, hey, this week was, this week wasn't. And he went through all the things that people are trying, and the reality is Mitch Trubisky had great moments for Chicago. Justin Fields had great moments for Chicago. And they never amounted to, this is the franchise quarterback for 12, 15 years that they're hoping Caleb Williams is. So it's a great start if you're hoping that one game is something that gets the Bears jump started. But until you see a bunch of those, you don't know what that's going to be. I think the difference is that Caleb Williams is a Heisman Trophy winner and the presumptive #1 pick for you guys know, you people in Bakersfield saw USC play, and I'm sure you guys have a whole bunch of USC fans. Like they saw that guy do things that college players aren't supposed to do. And so I think in this situation, you're nervous because the Bears looked so different last week and the Raiders looked so bad last week. But teams don't generally I don't think the Raiders are that bad, and I don't think the Bears are that good. So I think this is going to be a fight down to the end.
I have to agree with you. I mean, look at what Atlanta had last week too, though. I mean, 30-0 against Carolina, and the week before they looked fantastic against the Vikings. You could just chalk it up to a good or a bad week either way. But I think this is going to be a fantastic test for both of these teams to really either shut up a lot of the pundits or really just prove everybody right that they may not have made the right steps just yet. But I mean, I would likely say that the Raiders are going to bounce back in this game. I like the matchups here. And honestly, I like Sparky. I'm just not fully convinced that Ben Johnson has been able to unlock this offense just yet.
I think the one thing though, and maybe this is because I got a chance to spend 3 years with Lincoln Kennedy, and so my vision of how a game goes changed. And I've done a lot of games with offensive linemen as a whole. They make great analysts, but particularly the reality is that I don't know that this offensive line can mesh. Because it's the same. They moved the parts around a little bit, but the names are the same from last year, where the offensive line, there was a lot of blame put on the quarterbacks, and understandably so. But it was the worst ground attack for the Raiders in a very long time. It was the worst in the league, and it's the same names. And now 3 games in, it's one of the worst rushing attacks in the league again. And that's with a running back that everyone's like, wow, look, he's going to be so great in the NFL. And it's with a quarterback who's really good. And so you put all those things together, and I don't know at this particular moment, until something changes, that this offensive line, I don't know that they're not, but I don't know that they're capable yet of being one that is going to be able to win a whole bunch of games. And if you don't have a good offensive line, you're in trouble. And so that is, I think, big concern. It's why every single Raiders fan and every single show in Vegas this week is talking nothing but offensive line, because we're hearing about competition, but you got to have guys behind you to push you. And Stone Forsythe they brought in. He's someone Pete Carroll knows very well from Seattle, but we haven't seen him more than 1 or 2 snaps. And they got 2 rookies that they drafted in the 3rd round, but they said they're not ready to go yet, in Charles Grant and Caleb Rogers. So I don't know.
That's interesting. I mean, do you think that there's going to be any kind of change with those young rookies at some point during the season?
If it looks this way, I think you throw them in. Yeah. I mean, now Charles Grant's a 3rd round pick out of William and Mary, who people projected as a project. That doesn't mean project can't come to fruition right earlier. I think you got a better chance of seeing Caleb Rogers than you do Charles Grant. Like if you're going to see something change, my gut would be you'd see Caleb Rogers before you'd see Charles Grant, barring an injury. Caleb's played outside, but he's someone they're working as inside. And Stone Forsythe's a guy who's now in his 5th year in the league, and they signed him after he was cut from the Giants because this staff certainly knows him. But I'd think 3 weeks in, if we would see a change, if they're going to make a change, my gut is that you'd start to see one sooner rather than later.
Well, my final question is, you're sitting in Vegas and you're around the home, home fans. Is it the kind of the same vibe?
Well, I'm sitting in New
that we're
Jersey.
getting?
Remember,
Well-
I live on the East Coast.
That's
You
right.
guys
He's in
get
New
me around
Jersey.
lunchtime.
Okay, so you're not in Vegas yet. So my question is, are the Raider fans around the kind of the same vibe we're getting here in Southern California, where, after week 1 they were, high on their horse, and then now a couple losses, now they're like, oh, we just suck. It's the Raiders. We're just another bad team.
Well, I mean, you guys are around a lot of Raider fans there. I mean, there's so many diehards that live in Southern California, right? And so, you guys know the way that this is going for 23 years, right? 2002, the last playoff win, and only 2 playoff appearances since, and only 2 winning seasons since. So, like, you kind of know how this has gone. This narrative. I think the one difference is you got Pete Carroll, who's been there, done that, so successful. You've got Geno Smith, who there's reason to believe over the last 3 years, and even the 2 of the first 3 weeks, to believe that he's the guy that can make this work. So I don't think they're quite there yet, but I do think they would be there if you saw another performance like that this weekend.
That's so disheartening to hear, because the Raider fan base is when I was there on Tuesday, I was disappointed when I heard defensive chants for the Chargers, and I looked down and realized, oh God, everyone's gone. It was so disheartening, but I would love to see.
Well, and the crowd too. Like, you guys were there. I think you guys were there for the Monday night game, right, against the Chargers in person, and that was such a pro Raider crowd, which was so awesome to see. Because the reality is, and Raiders executives know this. Las Vegas is such a destination that, particularly teams that aren't there every year, have so many fans that want to go to Vegas that heck, ESPN Chicago has put together this whole trip to Vegas that they've been putting out. And so, like, they're doing all their shows from Vegas this weekend and on Sunday and Monday, and they have a whole bunch of fans. Like, the report is that you're going to get 45-50% of the stadium being Bears fans on Sunday, and we've seen that a lot. So that's a lot to overcome for the home team. But the reality is, if and when it starts to happen, that the Raiders start to play better on a regular basis and give Raiders fans reasons not to sell their tickets for ridiculous prices, they're not going to sell their tickets, and it will be one of the better home field advantages in the NFL. But they've got to see the product to do that.
No, absolutely. And honestly, I hope it starts this weekend with the Bears, but we will see. Jason, thank you so much for your time, my friend. We really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you hopefully next week.
Take care.
Thanks, man. We got to take a break, pay some bills. This is the Early Bird Special on ESPN Bakersfield. version is this?
Metalachi. They are in town tonight.
Oh, is this the fair?
This is Metalachi. No, they are actually at the brewery over off of Roseville Highway.
Cool. That's awesome. Love that.
They are awesome. If you've never seen
I've
Metalachi
never
live,
seen this.
they are
This
really
is
good.
really cool. Well, with the final 2 minutes of the show, just want to thank our guest for the day, Chris Flail, Jason Horowitz, and our guest for the rest of the week. We'll be back on Monday, obviously 7 to 9 a.m. as we always are. Give you everything that happened over the weekend in the world of sports. Will LSU pull it off over Lane Kiffin? Can the Raiders pull it off over Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson? We'll let you know about all of it on Monday, plus all the world of wrestling and all of that too. I don't know if we have any guests scheduled as of yet. I know we're going to be talking to a couple of our friends from 559 Fights, get a couple of their fighters to come back again in the next upcoming weeks, as 117 is this weekend.
Yes,
I believe in
559
Visalia.
Fights is tomorrow.
Go check that out if you're in the Visalia area. They'll be at the convention center, 559 Fights. Our guy Jesus Navarrete will be going up against, I can't remember his opponent's name, but it doesn't matter because Jesus is going to win, and that's all that matters right now. But we will talk to you guys all about all of that next week. We got to get out of here. It has been the Early Bird Special. We thank you guys for joining us as you do every single week. And thank you guys for watching and listening. You can follow us all over the place on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch. We're all over the place. Just search the Early Bird Special or the Early Bird Special Official. You'll find us. You'll see the little logo. It's right here in the corner, little bird, little worm with the ESPN writing. But we got to get out of the way for the great Rich Eisen. Sparky, let's get out of here.